Eunice was a victim who became a monster. Hi everyone, I'm Rainbow Heart's Villain Thoughts, and I love to do book reviews. But this video is a bit different. Despite it saying spoiler review, this is less a spoiler and more a discussion video for the book The Haunting Between Us, written by Paul Michael Winters. Now, cannot stress this enough that there will be spoilers in this video. In fact, that's the entire process of this video is nothing but spoilers. So you have been warned. Now back to the opening hook. Eunice was a victim who became a monster. Well, Eunice, if you've read the book, was the White Lady, originally thought to be her sister Emily, but as it turns out, it was Eunice, the quote unquote evil twin, who actually was just misunderstood. She was treated poorly by her father due to things beyond her control, and her nanny completely locked her away after Eunice caused the nanny to lose her lover. Um, which is sad. I mean, Eunice clearly could not help how she behaved, as it was stated that she had mood swings. And more than likely, this was caused by a mental disability or difference. Um, or something that was beyond Eunice's control, but at the time, no one knew how to deal with it other than locking her away. The haunting between us really echoes this sad factor near the end that Eunice is a victim, but it's only at the very end. But this book isn't just about her, it is about Cameron and Hugo. So, my first thoughts on this book, and for the record, this video might be all over the place. I apologize. I try to put my thoughts in a good process, but as someone who is autistic, it's sometimes very difficult, so I will apologize for that. My first thoughts when I first got this book was the first line in this book got me hook, line, and sinker. That first line being, "That hideous house will eat me alive. It almost did once." That was Cameron referring to the fact the house once almost ate him, according to his wording. But in actuality, we find out later on that Cameron was dared to go into the house as a child at his birthday party or sleepover, to go into the house, and on one of the floors, the floor gave in, and one of his legs fell through and was badly cut up by the wood, and he couldn't get out. There were crows attacking him from everywhere, and a strange voice that said, "You left me, but now I have you." And that's something that will be repeated throughout this book. I want to make that very clear. And it's a foreshadowing aspect that I never actually thought much of until near the end of the book. Now, this first line got me because it kind of made the house sound alive. And at first, that's what the haunting sounded like. Not the White Lady, but the house itself. But also, this kind of gave me Monster House vibes. You know, that older movie from the mid 2000s that featured a group of teen kids who end up in this deranged psychotic house that is alive and it eats anyone that goes to it, and his old elderly owner has to keep kids away, and he ends up getting hurt after one of the kids goes to his lawn to get something back, and all chaos ensues in that film. I remember seeing that movie when I was a kid at the theater, and I really enjoyed it. But understandably, as an adult, that movie doesn't really have the same kick it did when I was younger. And because of that, I was kind of concerned that this book was going to be downplayed by that. Now, there are books, obviously, that depict a very dangerous killer house, as well as films, such as Rose Red by Stephen King, I believe is the name of the book. And of course, the legend of the Winchester House, and the film Winchester House, I think it's what it's called actually, or Winchester, um, which are both extremely good states of a house being possessed or demonic in a way. However, I was a little concerned about this book portraying that, out of the fact that I was so for sure that this was going to be like Monster House. Um, and this being a young adult book already kind of made me concerned that this was going to be played down, really childish, not something I was going to be interested in. However, later on in this book, it is revealed that, as I said before, Cameron got stuck in the house. The house itself wasn't alive, but he got stuck. And the actual haunting is a ghost called the White Lady because her outfit, her skin, and her hair are pure white. Which kind of gave me Inuyasha vibes. One of the villains, Kana of the Void, was pure white. From her clothing to her hair to her face, even her eyes, I think, were white. So that was kind of giving those kind of vibes. Now, character developments. I want to go ahead and say there are several different characters in this book. You have Cameron, you have Hugo, you have Abby, Cameron's best friend. You have Taylor, who I think is the character who is non-binary. Um, you have um Chloe, you have Chloe's girlfriend, you have their friend of their group that's straight, and of course you have Hugo's father, Cameron's mother, father, and older brother. We have Chloe's aunt, Margaret. We have the librarian, and of course we have the characters that center around when the house became haunted. However, I want to focus character development on the two main characters, which is Cameron and Hugo, just because some of these characters don't really have development, which is understandable because this book's not about them, it's about Hugo and Cameron. So, first, we'll start off with Cameron, who was the first character introduced in the book. And yeah, Cameron is this kind of shy, not shy guy, but this poor kid can't catch a break. Um, we find out on the second or third page of this book that Cameron actually, all previous summer, had been dreaming about this guy, who he thought was really cute, and he wanted to, go out with him, this Noah character. By the start of their junior year, he gets blown off completely by Noah, who says, "Sorry, Cameron, but my boyfriend in Canada might get jealous." Now, I have never asked someone out, I'm going to be completely honest. Small town. But I remember growing up and seeing in media and movies and TV shows people using the excuse of, oh, my girlfriend or boyfriend from Norway or Canada or Mexico or on the other coasts of the US, they might get jealous. There's always this person that the person being turned down has no chance of actually meeting, so they're a safe goat or a scapegoat to kind of go to. And this is insinuated to be the case with Noah, as we never actually see Noah's boyfriend, but Noah himself only appears twice in this book. In this instance, and then later on, when Hugo and Cameron are shown dating, Noah kind of looks envious in a way through Cameron's eyes, but we don't actually know what Noah thinks because he doesn't speak beyond this excuse. Um, excuse me. Um, but Yeah, Cameron is terrified of Crimson House. He has these bad memories. He lives right across the street from it. He does not like ghosts, and he struggles with body issues, which is a typical teenage, very human thing to deal with. Even non-teenagers, adults deal with this kind of body imagery issue where you think your body is a lot worse than what it actually is. And Cameron was bullied when he was younger, but the same bully who hounds him in the book at the time of the book. And he just, was bullied for being openly gay, and he was bullied for being overweight. And while he lost the weight, Cameron kinda still has in his head that he's overweight still. He has a little bit of a love handle situation, as it was pointed out by Hugo, but Hugo actually thinks it's cute and not this, ugh, that's gross. But Cameron thinks it's gross, and he uses that at first to say, Hugo would never want him, he's disgusting, he's overweight, which for the record, I think no matter your body size, you deserve love and you can find love. It is harder when you're someone of a bigger size or a smaller size in certain situations. Um, but there's someone out there for you. You just gotta, it may take a little longer, be a little more difficult, but there's someone out there who's gonna love you for you, and will think you're beautiful inside and out. Just be careful though if you're a bigger person like myself. Avoid feeders. I cannot stress that enough because that's just, yeah, bad, bad, bad. Don't go that. Don't go down that route. Anyway, and Cameron has a connection to Crimson House, which we find out near the end of the book, thanks to the librarian who's doing research as well. We do know, we do know at the middle of the book, or near the middle ways into the book, it's either Chloe or Chloe's Aunt Margaret. I think I say her name. One of the two ladies, or the young girl, or her aunt, either one, point out the fact that Cameron and Hugo have this strange connection with each other, but also the house, which is very weird. And we find out later on, thanks to the librarian, Mr. Peterson, I think is his name. Um, we find out that their connection is Cameron is ancestor, his great 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 grandfather, I want to say, was oh gosh, he was Liam. May not Liam. Hang on, let me look at my notes here. Sorry guys, I have to look at my notes. Luke, sorry, not Liam. Luke Walsh, who was the boyfriend of Emily and Eunice's nanny, who was almost shot by Emily and Eunice's father when Eunice got the gun instead and shot her father, ending his life. Making Luke immediately run away, leaving the nanny to punish Eunice severely by locking her up in this little basement room in the basement and chaining her to the wall where she couldn't see the sunlight or anything else, which she already, wasn't able to, but we'll get to that in a minute. Um, and of course, Cameron has another issue. Sorry, wait, sorry, my bad. But we find out that Cameron is related to Luke Walsh, which is why the White Lady wants him so bad. He's the descendant of Luke Walsh, and she can tell he is. So she wants him. So the wording of, you left me, but now I have you. You left me, now I have you. Sorry. That is something that's echoed throughout this book because the White Lady wants Cameron for herself, and even goes as far as trying to end Cameron's life by tricking him using Hugo to crawl into this furnace and locking him in and starting the fire to end his life. Um, So that was, yeah, that was a terrifying thing. And honestly, without Hugo and the rest of them saving him, I don't think Cameron would have survived. So, but that being said, Cameron has another issue which may not seem like a big issue in the grand scheme of things, but it's something that we see really affects Hugo negatively, and that's his father. Hugo is openly gay, and both his mother and older brother accept and love him for who he is. His father, however, it's not that he hates that Hugo's gay or doesn't really, or is homophobic, but it's the fact that his mind won't let him understand that. And he keeps pushing for Cameron to be with Abby, his best friend, who is a girl, if you couldn't tell. And it just, it causes issues. And I feel like that's relatable to some people. You can have relatives that aren't openly homophobic to the sense of calling you slurs or making you feel left out, but still might kind of push heterosexuality towards you, or might have, depending on your age, at some points, which it can feel as just as painful as flat out homophobia to some, because this is someone you love and look up to or are close to who is refusing to accept a big part of who you are. And Cameron has this with his dad until the end of the book, where he accepts the fact that, hey, Cameron is gay and he has a boyfriend, and he accepts Hugo as Cameron's boyfriend, which I thought was a really cute little cherry on top to the end of the book. Next up, we have Hugo Cruz. I don't think I said Cameron's last name was Walsh. I don't know why I didn't put that in my notes, but anyway, Hugo Cruz, who is the new guy in town. New guy in town, the new kid in town. He comes into town after his dad buys Crimson House. Hugo doesn't know why he bought Crimson House, and that's kind of revealed later. But for now, we just know Hugo's new to town. He moves around a lot. And because of this, he doesn't really have any stable friendships. He is also gay. Hugo is gay, but the issue is his mom knew. His mom unfortunately died, and his dad does not know. He does not know Hugo likes guys or boys, since Hugo's underage. He doesn't know Hugo likes boys, and it's something Hugo's scared of because he thinks his dad is very religious. Newsflash: the mom was the more religious one. The dad was kind of passive religious. Meaning he believes in God, he believes in Jesus, but he's not one of those people that has to go to church every Sunday. No offense if you do. Obviously, everybody has their own belief system and different ways of practicing that belief system. But yeah, so Hugo's kind of worried about coming out to his dad. And as the new kid in town, he doesn't know anything about Crimson House until he gets to school. Which he's late to enroll at the school, so he has to sign up for all the worst classes, the classes no one wants. And during this day at the beginning, it's kind of revealed about what Crimson House is by the bully of Cameron. And poor Hugo is the butt of the joke of the school. In school gossip, teenagers are very cruel. I often hear the term teenage girls are very cruel. Teenage boys are also very cruel. Teenagers in general can be very cruel and mean. And this definitely happens to poor Hugo because he becomes the joke of the class, of the school. And unfortunately, this kind of reflects into him and Cameron's relationship at the beginning because that morning, Cameron thinks he saw Hugo's grandmother, who was baking cookies, who actually was the white lady. Um, before this, Cameron never saw the white lady except for the day before. He saw an old woman in the house with the curtains moving, and he just assumes that's Hugo's grandmother. Um, and Hugo's kind of like, "No, I don't. What are you getting at? Are you making fun of me?" And so he instantly does not like Cameron. Now, eventually, the two do get along, um, but it takes a little bit of trying, and it's not all sunshine and rainbows and lollipops. Definitely not at first, because Hugo does see Cameron going off in the woods, which is how he cuts through. He goes to get to school. He goes to the woods. He cuts through Hugo's yard, to get back and forth to school. It's the shortcut. However, he notices the school bully is going after Cameron, so he goes. He catches the bully being a jerk to Cameron, and he steps in, beats the bully. Bully runs, and that's when he finds out that Cameron is gay. And Hugo is just stunned that this kid is so open and proud of who he is. He's not ashamed of it. And it affects Hugo because he can't be that with his dad out of fear. And as a result, he kind of immediately runs away, or he's kind of quiet, I think, and then runs away. Or Cameron, it's been a while. Cameron, gets offended. Anyway, he does get offended, and he immediately thinks Hugo is homophobic. Um, and because of this, they are kind of distant at first, until eventually, I think Hugo comes out and says, "Hey, yeah, I'm gay too. I was just jealous that you were so open and I'm so scared." And after that, they end up getting together and they make a very cute couple. But during all this, you still have the house as a center point. And yeah, Hugo at first does not want to believe that the house is haunted. He is very much, um, the house is not haunted. There's a logical explanation to all this, as where Cameron knows that house is haunted, and most of the town doesn't like that house. They avoid it at all cost. And it's not until page 200, around 237 in the book, um, that the white lady appears and grabs Hugo's ankle, I believe, and leaves this handprint on his ankle, and he realizes, hey, this is real. My house is haunted. This spirit is malevolent, which I believe means, evil. We gotta stop this. And yeah, it's a big issue. So eventually, they free what they think is the white lady, but it is actually um Emily, who was Eunice's sister, who kind of kept Eunice in check from hurting other people. Chloe says originally she felt two different energies, a comfy and or soft, and then a prickly emotion. And she assumes this is because, they think that Emily had split personality disorder, or she had something of her personalities to where she had two different emotions. But it turns out the prickly one was Eunice. But there was a reason for that. Eunice was abused, as I kind of said before, or insinuated before. She was locked away in the basement, little side room in the basement, and chained to the wall by the nanny. And the nanny would bake cookies for Emily, and she made sure Eunice could smell them, but Eunice couldn't have them. So this became a really big point of anger and resentment towards with Eunice, and eventually Eunice does break out of the area. She grabs the nanny somehow, gets her in the basement, chains her up to the wall, and that's where the nanny stays. And Eunice gets away with this because Emily passes away. And she plays it off as, oh, well, Emily was Eunice. So Eunice takes over Emily's life. And she, for some reason, holds great resentment towards children because I guess her life itself wasn't great as a child, obviously. Because her own father hid her away from the world. And as a result, she would lure children to the house with fresh baked cookies, and she would unalive them, unfortunately. Um, which was absolutely horrifyingly sad to hear about, including the fact that they found the ashes of her victims in the basement, in this little hidden room, which was just heartbreaking. Um, but yeah, Emily was a victim turned monster. She was one of those people that was honestly a victim of her father and the nanny's cruelty, but instead of getting help or trying to use what happened to her to say, I'm not continuing the cycle, I'm not going to do this. Instead, Eunice kind of immediately caves into this and says, if I was hurt, I'm going to hurt other people as a result. Um, but yeah, so um and I said there are other characters, and I want to talk about Taylor. I want to say Taylor's the non-binary character. I'm hoping that's the character. If not, it's the other guy. Or sorry, person. Sorry, like person. I do apologize for that. I love how I'll say the non-binary character because I don't remember the exact name. I love how the non-binary friends is brought up because from the moment we meet them, it's they them or just their name. There is no in-depth explanation. Oh, this is this person and they're non-binary. It is just smooth. This is a fact. We all know this kind of thing. And to some people, it may be disorienting for the reader because they don't know this character. But the book is told through Cameron and Hugo's perspective, their experiences. And Cameron is best friends with this character, so to them, calling them they them as pronouns and by their name is, is is like breathing air. Which unfortunately a lot of people don't have in their life. But this character does have this with Cameron and their friend group. And then the thing that I think is really cool is Hugo immediately takes up with this. He immediately calls this person they them. He doesn't question it. I don't think, and he's never nasty about it. It's just, oh, okay, that's how they identify. That's who they are. Um, which I love, but at the same time, I feel like if you're not a member of the LGBTQ plus and you read this book and you don't know the issues that plague the community, you might automatically assume that gay people have it worse than non-binary people. Um, and in actuality, non-binary people have it really hard, especially right now in countries like the US. So, I want to point that out. If you don't know somehow about that or are kind of in denial, it's not true, or it is true. I heard better wording, but non-binary people and trans people have it really, really bad and really, really hard. Um, so, um, so I love that character. I wish there was more of that character too. I wish they were in the book a bit more. Same with Chloe and their straight friend, and it's cool because you have two gay characters, Hugo and Cameron. You have two lesbians, Chloe and her girlfriend. You have a non-binary character, and you have two straight characters. It's kind of cool to see. I wish there would have been some bi representation. Not going to lie, and possibly some trans representation. But at the same time, I understand that that would have been even more characters. And again, a lot of these characters kind of faded into the background. They were kind of there but not there, if you understand. Like they were there at certain parts, but they didn't really play a big role in this book. It was Cameron, Hugo, and Abby that were the center page of this book. Um, Again, wording's not my strong suit. Um, and it's one of those things where obviously Cameron and Hugo. I mean, there's two guys on the cover, two kids on the cover. The one to the left is probably Cameron. The one to the right is probably Hugo, or supposed to be them at least. So, you know, and this story is told through both their perspectives. At the beginning of each title, it's chapter. Sorry, not title, chapter. It says their name, who's the story is being told through in that chapter, and it does a really good job of kind of switching off back and forth between the two boys. And I really enjoyed that. And one thing I really liked about the book was how they used the dad and nanny for Eunice's conflict. A lot of books typically, I think even now, at least that I've read, either the parent is not really present in the book or they're a good parent. And growing up in the South myself, it's kind of always honor thy mother and thy father, or thy father and thy mother. Parents can't do any wrong. And for some of us, that's true. Our parents are good people. But for others, their parents are a living nightmare that should not have been allowed to become parents. And is shown through Eunice in this book because of her father and because of Nanny. And Nanny is, we don't know her actual name. We don't know her name, but she's the nanny, is a person who's supposed to take care of children and nurture them. And she is the opposite of that. She is very cruel, very vindictive. And we see that reflection in Eunice, unfortunately. And it kind of shows, if you mistreat someone, they're going to be the same way. They're going to lash out. And not necessarily true, but it's something that can happen. And I feel like with this book, we can understand that Eunice is a victim because she was abused, but she is also a monster because she hurt innocent children. And technically, Nanny was a bad person, but she didn't deserve to die the way she did. Which was starving to death in that basement. Which we don't know if she starved Eunice. I think it's actually stated that she did. She rarely fed her. Um, but anyway, I kind of like that part of the book though because it it gives Eunice more characteristic. It's not, oh, she's just evil to be evil. We have a reason for it. We have a cause and effect there, and I really love that. So now for how I felt about the ending of this book. Now the pacing in this book was really good, but the ending, I feel like the pacing kind of fell apart. Um, the ending was kind of a letdown. I'm not gonna lie. Like the last chapter before the epilogue was really short. Um, and the epilogue itself was short. I mean, we find out that Crimson House became a historical build, a home, and they have ghost tours of the house, kind of ghost tours. And Cameron and Hugo are now over that, not over that, but they work there. And Hugo's dad didn't make the move. It's kind of a concern of Hugo throughout this book that if his dad found out about the house being haunted, that he'll force them to move because he's superstitious. But luckily he didn't, and they still live in the town, and Hugo and Cameron are still very much in love. Um, But the epilogue, they're ending a tour, and this little girl comes up and she asks, where are the cookies? And that's the thing that also kind of happened throughout the book was when Eunice was around, you would smell cookies. But those cookies would quickly turn into a very vile, twisted stench of decay. Um, soon after smelling the cookies. Especially when Eunice was left alone when Emily was forced to be released. And so that was kind of weird. And I think they're kind of like turned around trying to figure out where this kid's parent at. And she says, I smell cookies. And Hugo immediately, his eyes widen. He turns around. The little girl's gone. That's how the book ends. And I like it if there's going to be a sequel. If The Haunting Between Us has a sequel, I would love it. Maybe Hugo and Cameron are a bit older. Maybe it continues where it left off there. Um, but you have two other possibilities here. One, that's just how it ended because it's a spooky ghost gay romance book between two teenagers. Like obviously it's going to end that way, kind of a hair in the back of your neck standing up, kind of, oh no, like a goosebump twist, kind of, to better explain it. Um, or the little girl was pranking them. She's very much real, and she just ran away, but I think they would have heard her footsteps, so more than likely she was a ghost. But again, I can't say for certain we'd get an actual um sequel to this or not. Because, that ending doesn't guarantee one with this genre. So, um that's going to be it for this book discussion. Thank you so much for watching this if you did. It's almost 40 minutes long, so it's kind of long, but hopefully you enjoyed it. And let me know in the comments down below if you would like to. Did you like this book if you read it? And did you enjoy The Haunting Between Us? Or is this a book you kind of wished you had passed on? Like this was a book you didn't enjoy in the end. Um, Also, if you did enjoy this book, what was your favorite parts? What part of the book did you really enjoy the most? I would love to hear people's opinions on both matters. Like that'd be really cool. So anyway, if you did enjoy the video, please make sure to hit that like button because it does help the channel. And if you liked this book discussion and you also possibly liked my book review before this video of The Haunting Between Us, please consider hitting the subscribe button. That also really helps the channel. And make sure if you do to turn on the notification bell and set it to all uploads instead of custom. That way you will be alerted when I upload a new video. The next video I post will be a book review, no spoiler book review of the adult book, uh, Last Courtesan of Olympus. I'm excited to review that, but at the same time kind of worried because it's more of a spicy book. And it's definitely, again, for adults compared to The Haunting Between Us, which was for young adults. So, yeah, please don't please don't watch that video if you are not an adult. If you would please don't watch that because that makes me very uncomfortable. Um, but yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much. And to all my fellow bookworms out there, keep reading. I'll see you next time. Bye.